I got into shamanism when I took a workshop in 2002. It was shortly after I read a book by Don Miguel Ruiz, The Four Agreements. And in the book, which was a great book, but what really caught my attention was his mention of being a shaman in Mexico, as his mother and grandfather were, and how after becoming a surgeon, after a near-death experience in an automobile accident, he returned to his roots and is quite a famous shaman today and a healer, as well as a best-selling author. But what really caught my attention was that was the first time I ever heard of shamanism. And it intrigued me, the story, and I thought if I ever got the chance to learn more about it, I would. A few months later, our local hospital, who sent a newsletter out, it was just their monthly, stay healthy newsletter. And in it they mentioned they were having a shamanic workshop. So it seemed really odd that a hospital would offer this, but it seemed too much of a coincidence to ignore, and I signed up. It was a 6-week class, met once a week, and it was taught by a wonderful teacher who told us everything about the history of shamanism. And I really thought that was all it was going to be. So I was a little shocked at the end of the first evening that we were actually instructed to start journeying. I thought that shamanic journeying was something only shamans did. I didn't realize it was a natural ability that anyone could do. So it actually went really well for me and the other students, and it became quite a journey. We moved to Florida a week after I was done with the class, and I was kind of forced to continue the journey on my own with my spirit guides, which was kind of a blessing in disguise, because it really taught me to rely on the message I got from the spirits, and I learned a great deal, and within a few years the healing started. So it became an even bigger journey, one in which eventually, after a few years of requesting healing for others and seeing the miracles occur one after the other, exactly as the spirit guides would tell me it would transpire, I began to question where the power came from. And about this time, after a few weeks of really wondering what was going on and wondering why I'd been doing this for years without wondering before, my mother called, and she loved to discuss the healings, even though it was a very different path than the one she was on. And she asked me, where did I think the healing from the power for the healings came from? And I told her, I said, well, if it comes from God, then He's more incapable of showing Himself. And after I said that, a pressure began to immediately press down on my head, and it got more and more intense, until I was literally trying to talk to my mother with my head resting on the desk. I had to end the phone call. I just couldn't even talk anymore. I rushed to my room, shamanic journeyed there for the first time in well over 20 years. I met Jesus in the spirit realm. And at first I was a little afraid, but He looked so welcoming, and He smiled and walked towards me and said, welcome. He said, there's so much we need to do together. There's all that I did we can do together and more. And I was happy. At the same time, I was a little skeptical because, as I said to him, I said, well, I can't pull gold out of fish's mouth like you can. And then he said, hold out your hands. So I did. And then in it he put 2 gold coins. And he said, you go do what needs to be done, and I'll take care of the rest.